Mary and Audrey's feud has been simmering under the surface for a while now, but the new clip from Season 2, Episode 7 of Georgie and Mandy's first marriage shows that things have finally boiled over. What started as passive-aggressive comments and quiet judgment has now turned into open hostility, and the tension between these two women feels more personal than ever. This isn't just about clashing personalities anymore. It's about grief, control, pride, and the struggle over who truly gets a say in Georgie and Mandy's future. Mary is in a fragile emotional place after George's death, and that's impossible to ignore when watching how she reacts to Audrey. She's still trying to adjust to life without her husband, while also staying closely involved in her son's life and marriage. For Mary, protecting Georgie isn't just a motherly instinct anymore, it's tied to loss. She already lost George, and the fear of losing her connection to Georgie seems to make her more defensive than usual. Every comment from Audrey feels like a threat, even when it's wrapped in politeness. Audrey, on the other hand, comes into every interaction with confidence and authority. She's used to being listened to, used to being the dominant voice in any room. In this clip, that attitude is on full display. She doesn't tiptoe around Mary's feelings, and she doesn't soften her opinions. To Audrey, Mary's emotional state is not an excuse to step back. If anything, it makes her push harder, reinforced by her belief that Mandy deserves a bigger, better future than what she thinks Georgie alone can provide. What makes this confrontation so intense is that both women believe they are acting out of love. Mary's love is protective, rooted in tradition and family loyalty. Audrey's love is controlling, driven by ambition and image. Neither sees herself as the villain, and that's what makes their arguments feel real instead of melodramatic. They talk past each other, not because they don't hear one another, but because neither is willing to admit any fault. The clip makes it clear that Mandy is caught in the middle, whether she wants to be or not. Every look, every pause in the conversation shows how uncomfortable she is as things escalate. It's her life, her marriage, and yet the loudest voices in the room belong to her mother and her mother-in-law. For Mandy, this fight isn't just awkward, it's exhausting. She's trying to move forward in her career and her marriage, but the emotional tug-of-war between Mary and Audrey keeps pulling her backward. The argument also exposes how differently Mary and Audrey view Georgie. Mary still sees him as a grieving son trying his best to step into a role he wasn't fully prepared for. Audrey sees him as an obstacle, someone who might slow Mandy down professionally and financially. That difference in perspective makes every disagreement sharper. Mary defends Georgie's intentions. Audrey critiques his limitations. And in between those two extremes, the truth becomes harder to define. What's especially powerful about this moment is how raw Mary's pain becomes as the conversation intensifies. You can feel how much of her anger is fueled by fear and loneliness rather than simple dislike for Audrey. She isn't just fighting another woman. She's fighting the feeling that the world is moving on without George, and now without her approval. Audrey's presence becomes the symbol of that painful transition. For Audrey, this feud seems to confirm what she may already believe, that the Cooper family represents emotional baggage Mandy will always have to manage. That belief only makes her more aggressive. Instead of stepping back when Mary reacts emotionally, Audrey leans in, doubling down on her authority and control. It's a classic collision between vulnerability and dominance, and neither side is willing to surrender. This confrontation also hints at long-term consequences for Georgie and Mandy's marriage. Even when they aren't in the room, Mary and Audrey's conflict shapes their relationship. Pressure from both sides forces Georgie and Mandy into defensive positions, sometimes against each other instead of as a team. The more this feud escalates, the harder it becomes for them to build a life that isn't constantly influenced by their mothers. What makes this storyline hit so hard is how realistic it feels. Many marriages are tested not just by the couple involved, but by the unresolved conflicts between families. The show doesn't exaggerate this dynamic, it leans into the discomfort of it. There's no dramatic music cue needed to tell you things are bad. The tension in the room does all that work on its own. By the end of the clip, it's clear that this feud has crossed a point of no return. Polite distance is gone. Civil disagreement is gone. What's left is open resentment, and the uncomfortable truth that both women are now willing to let that resentment spill into the lives of everyone around them. Season 2, Episode 7 doesn't just raise the stakes for Mary and Audrey. It reshapes the emotional battlefield for the entire family. And the real question moving forward isn't who will win this feud. It's who will be hurt the most by it. Because if this confrontation proves anything, it's that neither Mary nor Audrey is prepared to walk away, and that means Georgie and Mandy may be forced to carry the weight of their conflict long after this argument ends.